I've learned a lot of things from the Black Lives Matter movement. And one of the things that I hear said at those gatherings is, say their names. Say their names. My dad died in May, and his name was Victor Robinson. And at the age of 18, he joined the Army in 1943, and he went in on D-Day. He would never talk about it, of course, but right towards the end of his life, I got him to, and he assured me that he was not alone that day, and that God was with him. About 2 weeks before he died, I went to spend a couple of weeks just sitting by his bedside, and when I arrived in Lexington, Kentucky, and went to his room, it became very clear, very fast, that he and I were not the only two people in that room. They might have been the only two people you could have seen, but they were not the only two people in that room. He was talking to somebody else and was not looking anywhere near me. And when I got home to my sisters, she said, "How was he?" I said, "Well, he's got some conversations he wants to have before he goes. And I'm thinking, when those are finished, he'll go in peace." In religious speak, or certainly in Episcopalian religious speak, during the communion prayer, we say, "With angels and archangels and all the company of heaven." That's who was in that room. All the company of heaven was in that room. Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. both died, were killed in 1998, but they were never alone either. Not when hanging from a fence or being dragged by a truck. Matt was preceded by countless centuries of people who were hated because of who they were, or who they were discovered to be, and then persecuted. I don't know, King David, perhaps? Oscar Wilde, Harvey Milk? You've got a list in your head. And James Byrd experienced what people of color have experienced virtually from the beginning of time, because they have been hated and hunted because of their race, and more recently and more close at hand, because of the evil of white supremacy. You know their names: Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. And this heartbreaking list of trans people who have been killed just this year for living out their truth. And you gotta love some of the names, right? Serenity Hollis. Let's hope so. Whispering Wind Bear Spirit, an indigenous non-binary person. And I have to say my favorite, Dominique, she said Lucius. I'm hoping it was luscious. You gotta hope it was luscious. And you know she was fabulous. But this group of people, set upon because of their gender identity and all complicated by race, and mostly because all of these people are a challenge to patriarchy And God willing, we're seeing just the tiny beginning of the end of patriarchy. That's what this is about. And these transgender people were not alone either. They have been preceded by transgender people who have been with us forever. The first one of which I want to mention is from the beginning of Genesis in the Bible, named Adam. Except that actually wasn't his name. Adam is the Jewish word for the color of earth. And so he wasn't Adam, he was just an earthling, a human being. And in the second telling of that creation story, gender is not even mentioned for a while. It's just that human thing that God created. And many of the transgender people I talk with see themselves in the mention in both of the Old and New Testaments, the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, when they hear stories about eunuchs. Jesus even says there are eunuchs who were born eunuchs, there are eunuchs who were made eunuchs, and eunuchs who made themselves eunuchs. And Stonewall was mostly trans people fighting back for all of us. None of these people are alone, and neither are you and I. God and all the company of heaven is with us and has been with them, has been with all those who preceded them and all who will come after. And they're not alone because of us. That's the responsibility we have. And they are still with us. There is a wonderful custom in many places in Latin America. It happens on All Saints' Day or All Souls' Day. And the names are said, and then the entire congregation responds, presente, present. They're right here. Matthew Shepard and James Bird and fabulous Dominique Luscious, they're all right here. So let's say these names. I'll say the name and you respond presente and contemplate what that means. Victor Robinson, presente. Matthew Shepard, presente. James Bird Jr., presente. David and Jonathan, presente. Oscar Wilde, presente. Harvey Milk, presente. Michael Brown, presente. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Serenity Hollis, Whispering Wind Bear Spirit, presente. Dominique Lucius. May they rest in peace. Let us get back to work making this a just and compassionate world.